Boots Day. So I would advise you not to leave if you're nestled in here today at South Franklin Circle. The roads are quite bad. There's some roads actually closed now. So coming from University Circle, I noticed there was a few police officers blocking off some of the hills and areas that were most treacherous. So just stay here today. Stay in our beautiful, warm South Franklin Circle. Sean, are we all good though? Look at my technical support. Thank you, Sean. He is fantastic. I know you all know Sean. He's bowing back there. And I want to, before we get started, sorry, Amy, I didn't give you a heads up on this, but I want to introduce Amy Dudas, if you can come on up. Amy is our new corporate office administrator. This is a position that we had within the organization up until pretty much around the time I took over as CEO, and we finally filled it, found the right person in Amy. So Amy's been here just a little over 2 months and has been a great addition. I don't know if you want to say anything real quick. No.
I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be here. I've met a lot of you. It's a joy and a pleasure to work here, so I look forward to working with you in the future.
And Amy's office is here at South Franklin Circle, so you'll see her all throughout the hallways, but just helping to support myself and the corporate team, and these 2.5 months almost that she has just been a great addition, helping to support everything around, all that we do, and helping us to move forward. So thank you, Amy. I also would like to introduce Susan Chiancone, who is our CFO. Oh, you're right here, Susan. I saw you in the back. Susan, now you've been here just a little bit, almost 1.5 years now, and functioning as our CFO, and has been a great addition as well. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit more about yourself.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming out. I think I've met a lot of you back in August when we did the presentation on our financial position. So I have been here since probably about 1.5 years. I come from 20 plus years sitting in the C-suite, and I have really deep experience in finance and operations. We have a fantastic finance team here, and Judson itself has just been wonderful. We're super solid. We've got great energy and great growth happening, which is fantastic. And we have a tremendous senior executive team. So I'm honored to be here, and I look forward to continuing to work with everyone.
Thank you, Susan. And so everyone, I know if we didn't have copies, I know they were making a few more. Hopefully the majority of you received copies of the packet. It was also sent, the presentation was sent to you via email, so you have it electronically as well. We weren't sure how many people were going to come in person, but this is wonderful to have so many of you here in person, just with the weather and where it was. We didn't want to cancel because it's so hard with your robust calendar here to reserve the Chautauqua room. It would be many weeks. So thank you all for venturing out of your homes, your apartments to be here and be with us. So each year we like to come together after just the closure in the beginning of January to recap kind of where we are, what are senior living trends, what are we focusing on in the future. So this is just to kick off just a little bit about kind of where is senior living today. So each year I just kind of update what we're seeing in the industry, trends that are happening. It's shifting very rapidly. We talk about this every day. So the main area, and so much of this ties into, you'll see our strategic priorities, is enhanced memory care models. We know, and you have all seen the statistics, you see it around yourselves every day, the increasing need to support those who have memory care needs, right? We see it our neighbors, we see it with our friends. The number is growing exponentially year after year and will double here within the next 10 years. So we always want to make sure that we're positioned to be able to serve all of our residents in our communities and in the greater community, and to make sure that we are at the front lines, because that is where everyone is looking towards in the future, is memory care. We have to make sure our models are the best in class and that we have the capability to serve those who have thinking problems. One of the other big trends out there, and it's not a new trend, workforce, right? That's what we've been talking about since COVID. How do we engage new people coming into the workforce? And so we're all thinking about that across the industry. How do we bring new people in? to the senior living arena, and how do we keep them here? And so it's all about workforce development and support. That's one of the major key trends that is out there. Technology, right? We have shifted so much just in the last few years with technology, and we're continuing to need to keep up with your needs and what you want to do with technology and how we can best utilize technology from an infrastructure standpoint and efficiency standpoint as well. Then expansion of at-home community-based services. Let me ask you this question. How many of you have friends that are thinking about senior living, but they said, I'm not ready? Probably almost all of you, right? I said every time I'm introduced to someone and I'm out with a board member or I'm out somewhere and they say, oh, let me introduce you to Kendra. She's president and CEO of Judson. And they put their hand out and say, I'm not ready. Literally, this happens all the time. I'm not ready. So we hear that. So and many of you know that we have a Judson at Home program, and I'll talk a little bit about that strategic priority, but that's what people want. We're hearing there's a group that wants to be engaged in the community, in this community life that you all live, but there's also a group that wants to stay at home as long as possible. And so how do we meet the needs of both populations? And I'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about Judson at Home. Repositioning of campuses and amenities. So one of the things that a lot of communities are doing are shifting how and where they provide services. And same thing that we're doing here, looking at how do we need to expand on our own campuses. You know, we shifted our 141-bed nursing facility down to 36 beds. So the repositioning about people want to age in place in assisted living longer. They don't necessarily want to be in a nursing home, but how do I have those same services available without having to shift environments? And so we're part of what we're doing is looking at all of our campuses and amenities. We know the next generation, from everything I'm reading and all of the surveying we're doing, is that people want multiple kinds of dining venues, different times and different ways to dine within our communities. And the next generation is going to want a little Starbucks-like. They're going to want different exercise and programming offerings. So we have to be able to look at that and look ahead, because that's what the trends are that we're seeing in front of us. It's all focused on well-being and holistic health as well, and partnerships and affiliations. So, and it really ties into this demand imbalance and development constraints. A lot of senior living providers who are out and already in the business, they're not necessarily building more. You saw a huge infrastructure enhancement and people building independent living, assisted living back in 2017 and before. And you're not really seeing any development now. It's changes in the market, changes is what's happening. People are nervous about building again. But what they are doing is they're partnering with other senior livings to provide services, or they're taking them over, and they're taking over the campuses and bringing it into their network rather than going out and developing a whole new community or campus. So we're seeing that all over. But the other thing is partnerships and affiliations as well, like we did with our hospice program. We couldn't do it alone. So what we did is we met another senior living provider. Obviously, we have a close relationship with McGregor, and said, why don't we do this together? Since we can't both do these separately, they're smaller, how do we come together to have a more robust hospice program with a full-time staff? So merging all of our programming and what we can do in amenities together to try to serve everyone without having to do it all ourselves. There's a lot of partnerships. And that's not only partnerships with other senior living, but it's with nursing schools. We're actually kicking off a new partnership with John Carroll University as a clinical site. And we have had many other relationships with CASE and Cleveland State and social work, but this is a new partnership and continuing to look at that. So how does it tie into what we've been doing? At the very heart, and you've seen this and just wanted to pull it up because this all really was kicked off in January of 2025 when we look back, because we have accomplished so much in 2025, starting with our mission hasn't changed, bringing community to life. And our vision is Judson celebrates a society where older adults are honored for their experience, live vibrant lives, and thrive. That is our goal. It's all about you and how do we enhance your lifestyle, how do we enhance your experience here and the aging process for you, and being a partner with you along the way. And then our core value statement is that we are a diverse, equitable, and inclusive community where residents and associates support, and encourage each other through Judson core values. So hence our core values. We have rolled out we're in our 6th month of our 6 core values, and you'll see them here at the bottom and in the leaf around. We heard from our residents, we heard from our associates, our board. What are those core aspects that we hold near and dear? It's how we make a difference every day. And we heard from you, and like I said, everyone else on what those key areas are. And so accountability and belonging, collaboration, communication, innovation, and integrity are a huge aspect of what we do, and we've been spending each month focused on these core values. With our associates, you'll see the kiosks in our communications. This is who we are, and how do we live this every day. Also on our strategic priority map, and you'll see here, and it's a little small, but it is in your packets as well. This was our 3-year strategic plan. Our 6 key priorities that we are focused on from 2025, and you can see through 2027. So it's a 3-year, so not everything was accomplished last year through 2025. We're still working on many of these. But our number 1 strategic priority, because it's all about who we are and how we serve you, it's our associates. And I've always said we can have beautiful bricks and mortar, we can have everything, all the amenities, but we can't have that without associates. They're the people who make this so much of the home next to your neighbors and everyone else here. They are the people that we have to depend on every day to be here to support our residents. And so we have to focus on, as you saw that workforce demand, it ties very much into those trends. What we're focusing on is making sure that we develop and implement, it's a total rewards philosophy, it's a new terminology, making sure that benefits are in alignment and wages are in alignment, and that we are best in class. So we've been evaluating that over the last year and continue. We have about 50% the way through evaluating all wages throughout the organization. We also expand our recruitment reach. It's through those partnerships and relationships. How do we go out and bring new people into the organization? How do we find new STNAs through our STNA training programs, reaching out and trying to grow and develop people within the organization? We have to be able to do that. I won't go one by one because you can read all that, but it's all about retention strategies and helping people to grow and develop within the organization. But we need good people, or we're nothing without them, to be able to be Judson who we are. Comprehensive living is all about understanding who you are and how do we best serve you from the moment you move in to our campuses. And for you who all have been here, is getting to know you one-on-one and getting to know, as your needs change, what are your goals? What are your plans? How can we help execute that for you? When you need us, how do we really bring that all together for you? But it's really by knowing and understanding what your goals are and what's of interest to you, and how do we connect you to all the programs and opportunities and amenities that are here on our campuses that you just may not know about, but how do we make those connections? That engaging environments is all about how do we bring community together? It's looking at all of our environments. What is becoming obsolete? What are the things that maybe we don't really use anymore? Is there a fitness class that maybe we only have 2 or 3 people going to and we need to bring something new in? Or a fitness studio that needs to be reworked? Or dining venues that need to be relooked at? Because we want to make sure community is coming together and that we have engaging environments all throughout. As part of our memory care and looking at Crane House Reimagine, we were asking the question, what do you want to see on the campus? Because that's what's going to bring community to life. And so that's what engaging environment really focuses on. Obviously, always our financial health and stewardship is obviously developing a staffing ratio module and matrix, improve operating profitability, growing our foundation and endowment, and making sure we have a 5-year capital plan. Those are just some of those under there. Technology, enhancing all services. So we've been really focusing on technology over the last few years of continuing to enhance the pipeline. We did some fiber cabling. We're working on some further enhancements to that as well. But looking at, we'll talk about the application that we will have that you can have on your phone, as well as your iPad and your computer, that you can see everything from calendars to each other's phone numbers that we're going to be strategically looking at in 2026 and bringing in. It's part of our timeline of what we're looking at. But just and looking at overall our operating efficiencies and how that can be improved through technology. Many of you know Rui, right? The robot? How many of you are engaged with Rui the robot, like have been a part of any of the conversations? I only see a few hands. But that's a new model of bringing technology in, and it's part of also transforming aging. How do we look at things differently? We're going to change. We're going to have robots coming in. How many of you are using AI? A few? We're going to have a talk in the spring about AI. Becky's coming back from FIT. She wants to talk all about AI, and just because a lot of people have questions about it. But how do we use AI too? And how do we get to know how we can have better efficiencies through technology? But also part of transformative aging is, as I talked about, the I'm not readies. The people who are just not ready to move in. How do we bring our services and offerings to them in the greater community? Well, about 15 years ago, we started Judson at Home. And Judson at Home is truly a program where you can live in your home in the greater community, and you pay an upfront small entry fee and an annual fee, and you're connected. You can come in and use wellness, you can come in and use dining benefits, you can come into the programming and be engaged, and have a nurse care coordinator who oversees all of your services and supports. So you can be a Judson resident, we call it our community without walls, without necessarily having to live here. So we'll be expanding that program. That's one of our strategic initiatives for this year. We've been working on it for some time. It's a 15-year-old program. COVID kind of paused us because we couldn't have people coming in from the greater community like we had previously. So we're going back out, rebranding, and we'll be expanding our community without walls in the near future here. So these are our strategic priorities. I just wanted to recap those. Real quick, and we talked about our core values, but I do want to thank some of our core value ambassadors. I saw Jenny and Trevor here, and Gia is, a Crane House associate, Kathy Lewis, as well as Ed Casper. So if you haven't seen some of their videos talking about core values and what they mean to them here at Judson, check it out. It's a great way to just really hear the voices of how important it is. So thank you to the two of you especially. What we did, and just a reminder, so we always, with Associates Matters in mind, really wanted to keep in mind how engaged are our associates. How do they feel about working here? And we had 76% of our associates are engaged, which is outstanding. I know it's not 100, but 76 when you really look at the market, not just in healthcare. For healthcare, this is outstanding. But all around, to be able to have 76% of our associates fully engaged is the very base of where we need to be and who we are. We hadn't done a survey since 2018, right before COVID. So it was time to hear their voices. We had out of the 417 associates, 225 provided feedback. I want more the next time. I think people were a little bit uneasy about what does this all mean? How do I, should I respond? Is it private? What have you? So we're going to grow that number. But the 76, when we talked to Pradco, who was the company, thought that was a very good base of where the organization is. Some of that feedback, and I know I've shared a little bit with you before, but our employees, my presence help my team perform better. 97% of our associates agreed with that. I understand how my activities affect results. 97% of people agreed with that. My work actions can influence outsiders' views of the organization. 96, these are incredible numbers. What I do in my job is important to the organization's success. 96% of people agreed with that. And working with this organization means a great deal to me. 93% of our associates responded that positively to that. It's outstanding. We know that our associates are here for the right reasons. That is what it tells us. That they feel committed to you, they feel committed to the mission and the organization. And that is where we have a great base. Some of the things that we heard that we need to improve on are recognition and appreciation, communication. Those were the key items that really stood out. How do we continue to recognize and appreciate our associates for everything we do? One little way today, for everyone who came into work today, pizza, salad, pasta, right, wings. We were like, let's show how much we appreciate showing up today. Those are just the little things, right? And just saying thank you. So if you see whatever associates you see, please thank them on a day like today to come into work when so many other people are working from home and are able to say, oh, we're just going to close up today. Our associates showed up, and we have all of the people that we needed to do their job today. And so we need to thank and appreciate them from a Judson perspective, but please help us in that anytime you can. We love that. But that improving communication is another key of how does everybody know what's happening within the organization, both from a resident and an associate side. But I really want to give thanks and kudos to all of you, because when you look at these numbers, the Associate Holiday Fund year-over-year results, you can see 2025 all the way to your right. There is a 21.18% increase year-over-year. Look at that. $397,000 was raised for our associates. I want to can you please give yourselves a round of applause, because that is huge, and I can't thank you enough for that. It is so impactful for our associates in their lives and their everyday, and to receive those gifts each year at this time of year, right around the holidays, it makes all the difference. Every single person who is full-time, part-time, PRN who qualifies receives some portion of that, and it's incredible. So I cannot thank you enough for that. It helps so much with our engagement. So recently, you all received during the month of December a resident engagement survey. So we know we have nearly almost 60% of our residents participated in the survey. We want more next time too. So we have another survey coming. So please, you'll see this in the summer. This was just a pulse survey. We wanted to hear from you. It has been, I'm going to say, probably 2016, 17. I can't remember off the top of my head the last time we did a resident survey. It's time. So the pulse survey just gives us a baseline of key areas. I believe there were 15 questions for us to get a sense from you. How are things going? What can we improve on? But then it also allows us to dig in deeper when we do our full survey this coming summer. But I have a question, or actually a request of you. Please fill out the summer survey, because I've been hearing a lot from people saying, why aren't we recognized like the park and the manor? And part of our survey is that we're going to be doing is going to, based on the feedback and the engagement of our residents, will help us to put South Franklin Circle on the map. So I'll talk a little bit about that in just a minute. So Judson Manor, as you know, some of our recognitions that we received recently was noted by Newsweek to be best retirement community in Ohio and in Northeast Ohio. So it's nice to be recognized there. And then for Judson Health Center, 5-star nursing facility. It's really hard to accomplish that for Centers for Medicare and Medicaid. So we were recently recognized by U.S. News and World Report. So huge recognitions. These are not pay to play, meaning you don't have to pay to be participating. And then if you give $10,000 or $15,000, you're added to the list. These were truly based on our CMS, our 5-star rating, as well as from Newsweek based on feedback that was provided that they went out and asked from providers in the area, Cleveland Clinic, UH, all throughout, that put the Manor on the map. So what we need to, as we participate in the survey coming up, we'll get South Franklin Circle on the map once we get those engagement results. The big, broad one, we were able to add questions in there, so it will recognize Judson, South Franklin Circle as another community that we can be recognized. So please, please, please fill that out this coming summer. Theater in the Circle was brought back. So Theater in the Circle went away during COVID, but it was wonderful to bring it back, and I wanted to throw up these dates. That February 6th, 7th, and 8th, we have the Theater in the Circle, which is a Judson production. So these are residents. Bill and Mark Corcoran started Theater in the Circle, probably almost 10 years ago. And they have actors that come in and perform. It's in the ballroom. It's a fantastic event. I know we have buses going out, so please take a peek. If you'd like to sign up, it's a wonderful opportunity to come dine at Judson Manor, come to a show, and enjoy theater in a smaller setting that's very accessible to all. One other big thing is next week, the Manor will be in a movie. So we have a senior living. It's like a Hallmark movie. that they have Judson Manor focused in there, and we'll be filming some scenes as part of that. And so some of our residents will be extras in the movie. So that'll happen next week. I know, it's exciting. I'm going to switch it over here in just a minute to Susan, but just wanted to share a little bit about occupancy. You've seen the growing occupancy, correct? I mean, we new neighbors all the time. So South Franklin Circle, when we look back in 2023, we were at 93% occupied. In 2024, in independent living, we're at 90%. And in 2025, we've been teetering between 97 and 98% occupied. It's incredible. It has such an impact on the organization when we look at occupancy. In assisted living, we were at 70 in 2023, and 2024, 95, and again, we're pretty much always full in Crane House, as many of you can see here, in memory care and full assisted living, somewhere between 95% and 100% occupied. Hence, what we'll talk about memory care in a minute. But overall, the occupancy at South Franklin Circle, like I said, has been teetering between 97 and 98%. And we have an over 70-person wait list. I recently had a board member, was just on admissions yesterday, who said, okay, I'm not ready for 5 years, but I better get on the wait list, right? Yes, he's thinking about it. He's thinking about, I want to be there, and I'm hearing you have a 70-person wait list. I'm going to put my name in now. Even though I'm 5 years out, he believes he's 5 years out. He wanted to make sure because we're seeing the demand grow so much. And you'll see that in our total occupancy across the whole organization. So the park, we were at 78% occupied in 2023. In 2024, we were at 83%. And today, and actually I believe we're a little over 90 now, but just over 90% at Judson Park. So it's incredible to the rebound since COVID. We were about 90% as an organization before COVID. And then we had a lot of changes during that time period. And a lot of people were hesitant to move in. And so now we've been rebounding over these years. The Manor has been lagging a bit behind, but has made great progress. In 2023, we were at 73% occupied. In 2024, 75% occupied. And in 2025, at the end of the year, we have been at 84. So we're making great gains at Judson Manor as well. So the whole organization, as a total occupancy, when you look at it, we're about 92% occupied as a whole, Judson services, Judson Park, Manor, and South Franklin. And we're continuing to see wait lists at the park and the Manor. People are waiting for the perfect apartment at those two locations. So we have but lots of flux going on, but our assisted livings, and this is where we have to really look at how we serve and where we serve as part of the trends, is full. Essentially, we're pretty much full at the Manor. I think we have only one available assisted living apartment. Our Ambler Court neighborhood has one available. And then when you look at here, we are fully occupied here at South Franklin Circle as well. So, and I know we just sent out how the wait list works and what have you, so I won't go into that. But it just begs, how do we serve people in their homes? And how do we grow our campuses and our community to better serve, especially with memory care? I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who's going to talk a little bit about our financial status.
Thank you, Kendra. Here, I'll take the clicker. Hi, everyone. So this is a very high-level summary of our financial results. The far right column is 23, middle column 24, and our current operating results, which is a projection for 2025. So the 2025 numbers represent November year-to-date actuals plus a projection for, want me to talk louder? Okay.
But I don't know if it's just, you have to hold it pretty close.
Is that better? I can be big. 2025 is November year-to-date plus what we projected for December. Now, December isn't close. Are we back? Okay. Well, it's going to be one of those days. So December is not closed. It takes many months to close the full year. So this is where we anticipate being before we have any big adjustments in the audit. So we broke this down into two three key categories. Revenue is your top line. Net service fees, that is our revenue that comes in from all of our monthly fees from the residents. So for 25, we're at 51,400,000. In 24, 47,500,000, and in 23, 43,700,000. So that's a reflection of the occupancy as well. We have higher occupancy, higher resident net service fees. Other operating income is miscellaneous revenue, it's management fees, it's subsidies, it's much smaller, and that's been pretty consistent, but that too grows because the management fees, the higher the occupancy, higher revenue, the more fee we can pull, and that's for our overhead to run run all the campuses. So total revenue, just shy of 54 million for 25, 50 million for 24, and 45 million for 23. So let's move to expenses. We put these into three large categories. The first one is total labor. This is all labor, employees and outside agency fees, plus all the benefits. So for 25, there's 28,200,000 in expenses for all-in labor, and the same number, just about the same number for 24, and 23 is 26,700,000. And one may ask, well, how do we keep the same labor number and have the top line grow so much? So to Kendra's point that she mentioned earlier, our workforce, we have a 40% turnover in certain job categories, maintenance, dining, nursing assistants. So those positions fill and then they're vacant again. So the 28.2 flat from 24 to 25 includes a 3%, an average of a 3% raise for all associates who qualify, but we also have open positions. And that is part of this challenge and why it's a key initiative and a key strategic initiative to focus on that, because we need to stabilize that. That number should be higher, but we need people, we need staff who want to stay in their jobs. So our goal is to reduce that 40% turnover to something much lower. Facility operating expense is repairs and maintenance, it's professional services, it's insurance, it's supplies. It's all the expenses to run all of the campuses. So that number is 13.5 for 25 compared to 11.4 in 24 and almost 11 million in 23. Keep in mind, utility costs have gone up 8 to 10%. Insurance has gone up 15%, food has gone up. So the cost to run the campuses continue to increase. And the higher occupancy, the more expense. So there's a direct relationship between higher occupancy and the cost to run all of our infrastructure. Resident services, this is purely food, beverage, and therapy services. So it's what it costs to provide the services for all of you. So our total expenses for 25 is 44,500,000 compared to 42,300,000 and 40,100,000. So we have gone up $4.5 million from 23. Some of that's cost increases. A lot of it's related to our occupancy, if you notice where we were in 23 compared to where we are in 25. So that gets us down to an EBITDA. What EBITDA is in the financial world is earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. That's the cash we have to pay the bills. That's revenue minus expense. That's true cash in to function. So we had 9.4 million in 25, we're estimating, 7.2 million in 24, and 5 million in 23. So you see there's a significant increase in cash, which is fantastic because our expenses are going up significantly as well. So net operating income, this is all of the other expenses that isn't directly related to operating. So the EBITDA is the cash in, revenue minus expense. The net operating income includes depreciation. So there's GAAP accounting rules of how we depreciate a roof. It's like over 40 years. So this is the depreciation per year. It's $10 million. So we're always investing in our facilities. So there's $10 million that comes straight off your paper, your financial reporting. So off of the 9.5, we take $10 million off for profitability. It's not cash, but it's required to report how you're doing net of depreciation. Other operating expenses is real estate taxes, interest expense, bed taxes, it's miscellaneous taxes. And then you'll see there's a CARES Act funding, which we received in '23 from COVID, $4.6 million. That was a one-time revenue to cash in to our organization, and hopefully we'll never see that again because we don't want to ever go through COVID again. So bottom line, our net operating loss for '25 is $1.4 million, but keep in mind, $10 million of it is depreciation. That's not cash. So if you take $10 million off of the 1.4, we're at about 8.5. We died, oh, here we go, $8.5 million, which is fantastic, compared to 3.8 in '24 and 1.5 in '23. But you really need to add back that CARES Act, because that was a one-time and had nothing to do with how we operate. So that is the financial statements. Is there any questions on this? Go ahead.
40% overturn in associates?
Turnover, not overtime, turnover.
Turnover.
So we hire someone, and 40% of the employees we hire for certain positions, they leave. So then we have to start that hiring process again.
My question is, why?
I can tell you. I wish I could answer all of it 100%. I mean, workforce has changed, Trevor. I mean, that is the one thing since COVID. During my 25 years here, the majority of our turnover had been somewhere between literally 8 and no more than 20%. Since COVID, things have changed. People look at work differently. We have to look at how we bring people in, how we organize our work differently. And so you've seen a lot of the long-term associates, right, who've stayed and have been a part of the organization and tend to just, this is, part of the culture that they want to be in. But there's a whole nother subset of people coming into the workforce or have been in the workforce who have changed their mentality about work, and we need to meet them where they are. And so part of some of the things that we've been doing, we went from traditional 8-hour shifts to 12-hour shifts for some positions. And we have to be much more flexible, much more of this kind of PRN model. What came out of COVID, there was always agencies before, meaning supplemental staffing, where you can call and have somebody come out to fill a position for you. With the shift of COVID, people started working much more robustly through those outside agencies, staffing agencies. So they can get paid top dollar on short notice staffing and be able to go in and work through an organization. It's very flexible. I can work today, tomorrow I don't want to work. I'm going to work at Judson today, I'm going to work at McGregor tomorrow, I'm going to go to Jennings on Wednesday. And it changed the work. It changed how people thought about work, how I want to work. And so what we've been doing is a shifting to try to meet people where they are. How do they want to sign up for shifts? How do they want to be a part? They don't want to work the traditional Monday. Most people anymore don't want to work traditionally a Monday through Friday and every other weekend as a clinician. That was always how it was. That's just the structured schedule. And so we've had to begin to embed new methodologies in staffing that it may not be the same person. And we may not have that continuity or consistency. Because if we don't, we're seeing turnover. We're seeing new people coming in and walking right back out the door and going right to agencies or other organizations. People don't have, and I don't want to say everybody, I'm saying what we've seen is people don't have as much of a commitment. We have to grasp them and show them the Judson difference. I'm going to say half of every orientation class was once a Judson associate or had a family member who worked there and has come back, or they've worked through agency. Because every orientation class, I welcome them and we talk. I say, so how'd you hear about Judson? How did you? And oftentimes I'm saying, oh, you're back. Or I've seen you before, and they were an agency person on the floor. They're going through that methodology and they're coming back. They're going to go try it and come back. But how do we keep them? How do we keep them from leaving so they don't have that turnover? So it's about pay, it's about wages. It's one of our strategic, and we've benched 50% of the positions within the organization, making sure we're at top. We're finalizing that approach this year to make sure we've looked at every position, because it's changing so rapidly in the marketplace. It's hard to keep up with the constant. We're now not paying 15, we're paying 18, we're paying 22. So we're constantly adjusting our wage rates and bases, but that's what we have to always look at. And people don't want the same benefits as they used to. And so how do we adjust that? But it's reducing turnover is what makes us better, stronger, but we have to change who we are. We can't just be the same employer as we've always been.
Couldn't run a factory with 40% turnover.
No, Trevor just said you couldn't run a factory with 40% turnover.
It's expensive because you're bringing people in, you're training them, and then they leave. I
Yeah,
know.
Mr.
It's
Carlson, I
very
see you.
challenging.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but what I thought I heard was there were 40% in certain positions.
Correct. Right.
So what is the overall turnover rate?
Well, that is, 40% is the total for the organization. We're a little over 40. For those, the key positions are the ones that are turning over more frequently is higher. So it's dining, yes. So administration, there's lots of positions that you see the regular faces, right? And leadership and management, what have you. It's the frontline team members that tend to turn over much more. So, but that's the higher, and it balances out. No, it's a good question. Yes, Louise.
I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but when all of these figures, for instance, I looked at the holiday fund, and then I'm looking at all of the total revenues and others. If Judson is like a pie, and we all are a third, the Manor and the Park and South Franklin, are they all pretty well evenly distributed as to the revenue and the expenses? Are the expenses, say, at the Manor and the Park a little bit more than we have out here?
And Susan, you go ahead if you want to.
So the expenses, we've rolled everything up. We've consolidated everything, but we report behind the scenes by campus. So South Franklin expenses stay with South Franklin that are solely related to running this campus. Same thing with Park and same thing with Manor. But we have to report consolidated. Same thing with fees and revenue and everything else that comes in. What does get allocated is our the senior team,
The corporate overhead.
Like Kendra and I, because we travel amongst all the campuses. But anything that's dedicated to running the specific location, it stays in its, like it's silo. It stays in its column, and we report on a consolidated basis.
Does that answer your question, Louise? Okay. Oh, okay.
Oh, so is it even a third? No, because there's a lot more residents here. So this is a larger proportion of the revenue and the expense.
And I will say, I mean, it has been balancing out over many years. When Judson Park was almost 100% occupied and the health center was chugging along, the revenue there and the overall impact was greater. South Franklin Circle has taken some time to fill up, so the park was off, there's some offsets of how the organization as a whole has been balancing each other. And thank goodness we as a whole have come up and everybody's coming up together right now, so it's wonderful. But we can always come back to you. I'm happy to share as a campus by campus. Obviously the Manor's taking a little bit more time to rebound from COVID, but they're predominantly independent living, and the revenues in independent living are higher. There's not as much services. You're not paying for. You think about all of the aid support, all the nursing support, everything that happens in assisted living. There's not as much of a margin there from total services, and we are much heavier at the park. And go ahead, Louise.
I was going to say,
Do you mind giving her a
all the
mic?
money comes into Judson Services, correct? Everything that goes in under Judson Services. So it's not like our revenues just cover our costs. It means that if the park needs money, it comes out of the general fund, which may mean, are we helping the other facilities?
No, we have separate lanes. We have separate
They're
cash
separate
accounts,
entities.
separate entities, separate cash accounts, separate bank accounts, so it stays in the lane. If since I've been here, we haven't had to borrow money, but it would come through the foundation. So I call it, a swim lane, a silo. South Franklin stays in theirs, and Judson and Manor are together as an entity. So we do not mix between the two.
No, but I will say that Judson, the entity Judson Park and Judson Manor, which have been around for much longer, had invested $33 million into South Franklin Circle to get us where we are today and help to support it throughout the financial challenges of that time. But yes, they are siloed. Oh, I see, honey.
Since they're separate silos, why is it that our Christmas contributions go into the main thing? I know absolutely that if we could contribute only to South Franklin Associates for the Christmas fund, that our contributions would be higher.
Now, part of I think what's lost in that discussion is all of the people behind the scenes that you don't see every day. Your finance office, that's why we have it across all three, from our home care aides that are on your campuses to when you need the health center and come for short-term rehab. It's not just a South Franklin Circle. You have an HR department, you have a finance department. That is all part of, all of our associates, minus the corporate team, receive the holiday gift fund. So we spread it equally amongst. And I know, Beth, and you might be able to jump in, especially on this year, but our campuses, I mean, when we look at overall contribution per resident and how it all lays out, it's actually pretty equal when you look at the number of associates to resident contributions. I mean, we've explored that ourselves. And Beth, correct me if I'm wrong.
Do you have an objective? Sorry.
Beth, you're going to have to come up. Beth is coming, just to clarify anything that, and add to what I've said. Thank you, Beth.
Hi, everyone. I would just say that the average gift per resident across each of the campuses is about the same, within $100 or so. So it might be, I think it was around $1,000 here, $1,200 at the Manor, and $1,100 at the park in terms of the average gift per resident.
Thank you.
Do you have an objective to reduce the 40% turnover?
Yes, that's our Associates Matter. I'm sorry, I'm in a little bad spot there. That is our Associates Matter strategic priority. So when you look at that list, it outlines our strategic priorities to reduce turnover, to recruit, and how we will go about doing that is listed in our strategic priority line.
The number
What do we want it to be?
for turnover?
We don't have a set number, but I would like it somewhere below 25%, if I would say, and that's very difficult to get to, I will admit. But most industry, and even in healthcare and senior living, I was with cohorts in Boston recently at our Leading Age National Conference. I said something about, I can't believe we're still at 40% turnover, and they're like, 40%? That's great. I'm like, what? I mean, because they're hitting somewhere between 60 and 80%. We're better than the industry, but we're not where we want to be by any means. That's why 25% may be a far stretch in my mind, but I think we can get there. It's just, it's going to take us some time because we have to change a lot of who we are and how we operate as an employer to meet, the incoming needs of people who are entering the workforce and bringing people into the workforce that didn't always think about senior living.
Reacting to Beth's very helpful comments a minute ago, I wonder where on that list is income from philanthropy and how that's doing.
So that sits on the balance sheet, and that sits in the foundation, and that's reported. That's not in these numbers. This is just an income statement. So the income that comes in and the investments through Glenmead sits on the balance sheet. So it wouldn't be on the P&L. So it's not in your top line or your bottom line.
So that essentially is endowment.
And more or less, right.
And where does that play? Just the income.
But I didn't hear the question.
The
I'm sorry.
endowment, we aren't pulling, we're pulling very little dollars from the endowment. There is on the operating income, there may be a small piece in there if we pull some of the interest income off of the endowment, but we haven't pulled dollars out of the endowment.
And I will say
And we
this,
haven't needed to, because you can tell we're so, we're in great financial position.
So when someone gave funds
Mm-hmm.
for the Nick and Cranny here, for example,
Mm-hmm.
and it was done, where does that figure?
That comes in through a special purpose fund, and then the expenses come back out through, to pay for it, and then the only thing you would see is the depreciation, if it was a capital investment. Otherwise, it's in and out with donation funds and the expenses, so it's not captured here. It's not operating.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I can just add a little bit more information on the endowment. So the Judson endowment is about $32 million, and of that $32 million, only about $4.5 million have been contributed by donors. The remainder has been put in there by the board of directors in order to save that money and have it be used for purposes to be determined. But the revenue that's pulled off the $4.5 million is spent for the donor designated purpose. So if someone gives us an endowment for a music fund, for example, or an art fund, which happens often, then the revenue that we pull from that is spent on those programs or anything else. But then there's cash in and cash out, like the Associate Holiday Fund or other to-be-used, current use funds.
Right, and it would not be reflected on the P&L, because this is an operating P&L.
Right.
and so this year, we raised just a little over $1.85 million for the organization. Many are designated gifts towards specific areas like Nook and Cranny and so forth, but it was a great year, and we appreciate all of your support. That's part of Associate Holiday Gift Fund, that is and part of that total number that supports through the foundation each year. So thank you for your support. We should probably,
All right, we're moving on. All right, liquidity and cash coverage summary. These are important data points to portray the health of the organization, the cash position of the organization. So if the world stopped, your day's cash on hand. Can you cover all of your required expenses? So our debt covenants, our bonds, require us to have 120 days of cash on hand. We have 357 days cash on hand. It's a year, which is tremendous. So if everything stopped, we can continue for 357 days. Then, I mean, that's not the place you want to be, because you still need to keep the machine running. However, that's a very, very, very healthy cash position. That's liquid. So in 25, our days cash on hand was 357. 24 is the same, 351. And in 23 is 346. Very, very healthy liquidity against a debt coverage ratio of, days cash on hand per the bonds of 120. So the same thing on the debt service coverage ratio, can we cover our current expenses? So our covenant is 1.2. We need a 1.2 debt service coverage ratio. Can we, do we have enough cash to pay our debt? And in 25, we're at 3.1, in 24, 2.8, and in 23, 3.2. Again, very, very healthy ratios. This is really important for our bond ratings and just overall investings, because it demonstrates we are using our cash appropriately, and we're not using in general the entry fees coming in and they're covering expenses. We are in a very healthy position. All right, capital expenditures. So we have the 26 budget on the left. 25, again, is November year-to-date, plus what we anticipate December to look like. Again, it's not final, but we can tell pretty much where it's trending. And then the audited financial statements for 24 and 23. That's unit turnover. That is what it cost us to renovate the apartments when there's a vacancy and a reoccupancy. And that is directly related to census. So you see where we're at on census for 25, we're at 97%. So our unit turnover costs for 25 is 1.5 million compared to 1.1, 1.2 in 24. And that's a direct correlation between higher census, higher unit turnover. Structural maintenance, this is what we're calling everything else that we have to invest in to make our campuses strong, and that it's all of the replacements, the boilers, the elevators, it's the furnaces, it's paving, it's everything to make the properties in good operating condition. And then property, plant, and equipment is just that. So in 26, we're budgeting $2.7 million for South Franklin against a budget, an actual of 2.9. And you can see the largest portion of that is your unit turnover from 25, where because we have very little vacancy, our unit turnover should go down because we're not replacing occupancy as much. However, we're planning on spending significantly more on the bricks and mortar and keeping the buildings beautiful and functioning highly. So our total capital spend is 2.7. We're budgeting for 26 against 2.9 in 25. 2 million in 24 and $1.5 million in 23. You can see there's $1 million plus increase from 23 to 25. This does not include memory care because that is handled through special purpose funds and through debt. This is day-to-day bricks and mortar of what we need to spend, including technology to keep the campus going. So total, we put Judson Park and Judson Manor under all other, and IT is in there. So total capital expenditure for Judson total is $7 million budgeted for 26 against 25 is 6.4. And you'll say, well, why are we spending so much in 26 compared to 25? We didn't spend enough in 25. If you can see the prior years is 7 million and 8.2. We did not, due to weather and other circumstances, the projects didn't start fast enough. There was delays, or everything was back end loaded in the calendar. You know, a lot of the exterior work can only be done in nice weather. So we were a tad underspent in 25, and we were making up some of that in 26.
Do you have standby generators in that?
I'll be talking about that in just a moment.
It's
I
coming
believe it
in
might be the-
upcoming slides.
Yes.
The purchase of the generator?
Yes, it's coming.
It's not in this. It's not in this.
It's not in there?
It is
No.
not in that.
Right. The purchase of the
Okay, I'll come to
generators,
generators.
any generators, is not in the 26 number, and we will be talking about that in a few moments on another slide. Any other questions?
What is the total debt outstanding?
Our total debt outstanding is approximately 75 million, all in, but that's short-term and long-term. It's 100%, but it's like 40, 50 years worth of bond debt. Okay. Thank you.
This is where everybody wanted to hear, right? What's going on with memory care and what's happening with, as well as our generators. So, as you may know, Bainbridge Township, we went and talked about the Reynolds Memory Care Neighborhood. Thank you to Bill and his family for supporting the need that we so see here. So we were just approved. We went one time, had to go back again. So we finally were approved back in November to move forward with reviewed and renewal of amendment to the existing conditional use. As you may know, we had apartment complexes, another 2 buildings that were to be on the back 14 where memory care is. So we had to go back and change our approach because we had it documented. So that's why it's a renewal and amendment to the initial building and design that we had planned. So we are excited that that is underway and that we were approved. Just to give you a quick street view, the 3 small home, and we are looking at 3 to 4 small memory care home, and what it will look like. This is not exactly the coloring or the dynamic. Please don't look at the reds and what have you, but it will very much mimic the feel, the aesthetic of the campus. That's what the architectural design is all about. But just to give you an update, and you can see a little bit here, I'm looking for my red dot, and hopefully I don't push the wrong button. Oh, I did push the wrong button. Let me find the red dot. Oh, no. Oh, no, I did it. Let me see if I can get back. Now it's, let me go back up. My apologies, I pushed the wrong button. Maybe put us back in slideshow. Okay, there we go. So you can see, and I'm gonna hopefully not push, I'm not gonna push any more buttons. I think that is not the way to go. I don't know why I can't find the little pointer on here. But you can see we outlined, there are 3 small homes with a potential 4th down below. That's right across from building 6 and 7. So you can see, and that back 14 past the dog park right in that area is where those 3 small homes would be. You can see there's a wandering, meandering path behind it, and that would be our beautiful outdoor space that we're looking. Now, I'm going to go up here. I'm going to show you where those generators would be too, without me clicking. So the generators would be in this area right here. So right off of Rocker Road, right in this area. So we know, as we've been talking about for some time, the need for memory care and how we're seeing our memory care neighborhoods are full. We're seeing, up to, as I mentioned, up to 50%. So we know we are going to be moving forward with this project. Just to give you a good sense of where we are and an update. RDL, which is our architectural firm, completed 100% design development schematics, so we have that package. We have selected John G. Johnson, who we've worked with many years on different projects, as our construction manager partner, so they have been selected. JGJ is working through the cost opinion in its process, and they're reconciling various estimates for work. So we're working through, because we need a total cost of the project before we can look at, and we'll get back to that in just a moment, how do we go about financing it. And then estimates for winter site clearing. I know Bill is working on that right now, so we can begin to prepare because the need is great. But we have a steering committee, both a memory care steering committee and a memory care financing committee. Steering committees, that's an offshoot of that, to look at this, because it really will be a 3-legged stool here. Philanthropy is helping to support this project very much so, and will continue to do so. It's so important. We all have been touched, I'm sure, in some point in our lives, and this is truly a best-in-class model. We went out really looking over many years and stepping back from our original design and outlined that the 3 small home model, or the small home model of 12 persons living in each home, is the best out there. Everything you read will tell you that too, and how we will move forward. But there will also be some financing of the project, and as well looking to our endowment and to help support through board designated funds this effort, because everyone sees the need. One of the things you heard me talk about, there's not a lot of building and development out there. So what we're looking at is timing, total cost of project, and what that means. Because the environment, we want to make sure we're going out in the right environment, and we're looking at everything through the eyes of our board and through the health of the organization. So we'll be updating you more in the near future. But I know we have a memory care steering committee coming up this Tuesday, but we're meeting monthly on both of these committees to help to move this project forward. Additionally, we were approved on October 16th for the installation of our generators. So when we went to the meeting, we did not know, because we were still evaluating whether it would be diesel or whether we'd be able to have natural gas. And through some process of working with Enbridge, unfortunately, the natural gas option is no longer an option based on the pipeline and they're being able to feed us with enough natural gas to come on the campus. So we will be moving, just to give you a sense, there'll be 4 generators is what we're looking at, 500 kilowatts. There'll be diesel generators that we'll be utilizing. So we're working on the quotes right now and bidding out the work, bidding out The work is underway. And once we finish the bidding process, it will be 20 to 30 weeks from that time period. It is these are not off-the-shelf generators that you just purchase and they show up on site like when we had our incident with building 5. I'm trying to think when I was here. Can't remember which building was it. 5, thank you. I was here, I just can't recall. That we could just throw an extra generator right on the front of the property. These are whole campus generators that need to be engineered and designed. So hence the 20 to 30 week lead time. We're getting very close and hope to update you on that timeline soon. Yes.
Why did you talk about diesel generators and then gas supply, natural gas?
Because we're looking at 2 options, both a natural gas and a diesel option.
Well, I thought you had them on order.
Oh, no, we do not have anything on order as of yet.
Bill said you did.
No, Bill, and I don't know if you want to discuss, but no, we have not ordered them. We are in the final stages because we had to figure out our approach. We're working with Enbridge. We will have a multi-year wait to be able to put natural gas on with lots of infrastructure build to make that possible. Bill, I don't know if you want to add anything.
No, you've said it all.
Oh, okay.
I'll stand by in case there's other questions.
Okay, because generators and the intricacies of generators are not my expertise, but I've learned a lot along the way. We're happy that they approved it. Part of the overall generator approach is putting a sound barrier fencing around it. So that is part of what will be constructed at the time, besides the 4 generators, to alleviate both the sound here as well as to our neighbors as much as possible. Any questions about generators? But we're very close. I know, Bill's been working diligently since we've gained approval. It was really identifying whether it was going to be natural gas or diesel and what was going to be the best path forward. Okay, yes, they're not on order. They're not on order. We're very close. But some of the other significant budget items you will see here, as Susan talked about, unit turnover is a huge expense. So every time someone moves out of an apartment, whether they're transitioning or transitioning away from the campus, there's major expense that goes in. And we're starting to see after 15 plus years, it's redoing bathrooms, it's redoing kitchens, it's redoing much more than we were originally doing as we were newer and can quickly turn over apartments. Now we're investing much more into ensuring we're keeping and maintaining the same standard that we'd love to see. Building entrance renovations, so I know Nancy has that on her part of her tickler. Domestic hot water tank replacements, building carpeting replacements. Every year we're evaluating where do we need to invest in and replace carpeting. Home furnace replacements, that's for the cottage homes and townhomes. Column front and garage door renovations. We have been working on that for some time with those garage doors and front doors and making sure columns, that's a continual process. As you saw the millions that we invest in capital, these are all part of what goes into that. Elevator door closures, we always have some on backup as well. The stone veneer facade, as this community is aging, we were constantly reinvesting in the outside scape of it. Roof replacements, repavement is an ongoing project, as you've all endured over the last 2 years. We're going to continue to finish that project. The bollard renovations for all the light fixtures that are on our campus, alarm system updates, pool equipment pump replacements, and a new transportation vehicle. That's not everything. That is just the very top line of some of the major pieces that are going on, but there's a lot. Nancy and her team are always obviously managing all of the ins and outs and making sure we're maintaining, and we come to the table. It's a very collaborative process with our executive directors, with Bill, to look at where do we need to be reinvesting in our campuses and community, and what will be on the docket year after year. And we have a 5-year capital plan that we've been working on for some time. So what are we looking at in 2026? Enhancements in technology, that long-awaited portal that we've been talking about. We went and viewed with many of our residents, this was prior to COVID, how do we enhance the communication and technology around knowing what's on the calendar, setting up for dining reservations, how can we do that? And so we're going to be implementing, it's called the Katie system in 2026. We're working on the final timeline, but that's where you'll have an application and a way to communicate through this app. It is part of our overall status solution system that we'll be embedding. So I think I'll have a better sense of timeline. We're working, Fit and myself are working on leading this project together through 2026 to roll that out. Not everybody will always utilize the system. We know that. Part of technology, we still have some people who prefer to remain on paper and receive their calendars that way. But we have such a greater, as technology and the use of it is enhancing and people are used to it much more every day, it's the perfect timing now to begin to start that, but still be able to have the paper versions for those who are not necessarily on that. The relaunching of Judson at Home, as I mentioned, it's not gone away. The program, we have about 60 members of our Judson at Home program that have been through that and are connected through our community, some of which use our wellness center here and come in for programming. It's the expansion of that for the not readies and people who still want to be a part of Judson, but just will be living in the community. I will say our Judson at Home members, I would say probably close to 70% now are moving into our communities. So they start off as Judson at Home members, and then they move in, whether it's in independent living or assisted living and youth services. We want to enhance our wellness opportunities, and I'll talk about that in just a minute too. And resident care model enhancements. As I talked about, our number 2 strategic priority is embedding that. How do we get to know you all better and understand your needs, your wants, and how do we wrap our arms around you so when things change for you that we're your partner and we fully embrace and connect you to all the services and opportunities. So that's part of the care enhancements. That's that number 2 strategic priority. I won't go into much more about memory care small home neighborhood, but the continued enhanced partnerships with universities and research, such as RUI, and just expanding what we do and connecting more and more every day so that we can't be the end-all be-all, but we can do is partner and grow and increase our network and how we bring people into senior living as part of what we do. And then continued focus on resident associate engagement. That's on both fronts. That's why we went out, we wanted to hear from you this year. I should say 2025, so that we can enhance what we're doing. And that is where our main focuses are going to be. Some of the things that are going to help to support that are we're going to be changing around our organizational structure just a bit. As you met Amy just a little bit ago, corporate office administrator. She was just added later in 2025. Many of these positions, and actually almost all of them, are coming back. We, had to make some changes and with the organization years ago and throughout COVID, and we'll be bringing back some of these positions. So having a corporate office administrator, we just brought back a staff development coordinator to help us with that retention and orienting new associates to the organization. So she also started in late 2025. This is a position that we haven't had in some time, but we're going to be bringing in a chief operating officer. So that position is really focused on the operations of the organization. I don't know if part of our organizational structure right now is that all the leadership team reports directly up to me, so all the operations and everything, and the span of control and what that looks like, it needs to be adjusted as we've been growing as an organization. So bringing in the COO will help us to focus on buildings and infrastructure, as well as our executive directors will report up in the campuses having behind the scenes, the pieces that we've talked about as some of the efficiencies we can have in contracts and how we can be more Judson-like across, not that each campus doesn't have its own culture or ways of doing things, but from elevator contracts to dining, service providers and everything, is that we're functioning more as an organization, as a whole organization, not the siloed approach, but to help us be stronger that way, because there's many efficiencies that can be made that way. So we'll be bringing in a COO. That person will also be overseeing technology, which will be a great advancement for us as well. And then transportation, for the park and the manor, we're adding a new transportation associate. It's a newer position there. We're also bringing back the Judson at Home executive director. So that is a person who will oversee all of the Judson at Home programming. Right now, it reports to Cindy and myself, so we're managing those individuals who are living in their homes in the greater community, but bringing someone in to enhance and grow to the future. And then a communication specialist. So much of what we were doing is we were utilizing out external sources to help us. We would feed them information, and then they would help to do some of the PR and some of what you see on all the social media and what have you, and help us to better engage associates. So we're bringing back this position. We did have this some time ago. It's a communication specialist. And then we'll be adding a volunteer coordinator out here at South Franklin as well, because we haven't had one. We've been trying to limp along, so that's another addition. But we are positioned for a great 2026. We've already started off the year strong. Occupancy means so much, and it's so much because of all of you and making this community come to life that we are at 98% occupied, which is incredible. You have brought your friends, your neighbors in, you've touted your experience, and it's helping us just to bring better future. And I appreciate all of your voices as well at the table. There's so many committees that you all sit on, and we love partnering with you, and we would just want to continue to make Judson and South Franklin Circle stronger together. And I can't thank you enough for all of your support throughout this past year. We are so strong as an organization now, rebounding after some really challenging years. But I want to open it up to questions too, and be able to answer anything. Yes, Gil, I'm coming over.
Going back to the generator issue, do we know what they're going to cost, and how are we going to fund them?
So those generators, I know we're still working on the final pricing, but they're probably going to be somewhere around $3 million, right, and as a whole. So we're working on that. And then we're also looking at what does that look like on how we pay for them too. Do we use board designated funds? So we're looking at multiple ways on how we're going to be able to fund those in the future. It might have to be part of what we're looking at is resident contributions in that too. What does that look like to bring this $3 million expense to the organization? That's quite an undertaking. So I don't have any answers for you today. We're waiting on final pricing and working through that with the board right now, our finance committee, as we gain that. Just as we are with memory care, looking at all options, we want to make sure we keep Judson in a sound position and support the needs of the residents of the organization. But I'll be able to share more hopefully over the coming month or so, because we want to have those ordered as soon as possible. I see a question. Hi, Patty.
Hi. So I don't know, it could be me. I thought you skipped over Executive Director of Memory Care.
I did. I'm sorry.
Well, the reason I brought that up is because I was wondering if that position would help determine how the entrance as a resident of memory care would happen.
Yes, I didn't mean to skip over that, so thank you for calling that to light. So many of you know Jessica Kolzicki, who is really our dementia care specialist. Something that she's been with the organization, I believe it's now been 28 years, and has been very much brought comfort matters in and has helped to redefine how we care for people living with dementia. And so she will be moving into that position, and we'll be supporting both memory care, the development here, as well as memory care throughout our 3 campuses, and ensuring, no matter where you live, how we bring people new admissions coming in, how do we support them. She's worked with a lot of residents and families in that transition period and given a lot of guidance and advice and has supported the team in that. So she is the person who will be moving eventually into that role in this coming year. But she's someone who's a known entity and does a wonderful job, but it's supporting all of what we do in regard to memory care from the first moment that we touch someone to their experience throughout the community. Yes, I'll repeat the question. I'll repeat this. So what Patsy was asking is how will she coordinate? She will be setting the standards. So much of what we do is that the comfort matters, and we have an admission process, but she will be looking to enhance that with her great expertise and what she brings to the table. So it is consistent. Not home care, yes, we serve, but so much of the education, she'll be doing a lot of education for all of us. We originally had gone through all of the comfort matters education back about 7 years ago, so we were all trained. And so what she's doing is also sitting at the table with each discussion, the IDT meetings, and bringing everybody into the conversation both on education and how we formalize our approach. So she will be leading all of that. and helping. She can't be everywhere, right? But it's helping all of us to grow, because when we know better, we do better. And I will say that I have learned so much from her over the many years because of her experience and because of what she has brought in through our Comfort Matters program. But it's teaching all of us, right? And I don't know if you've heard her speak before. She has spoken at South Franklin Circle a few times. She's incredible and brings so much knowledge and expertise. Oh, wait, the mic's right behind you.
It's on.
Thank you. Could you just clarify the difference between Judson at Home and Judson Home Care?
You know, this is why we're rebranding. Thank you, Ruth, because that is a big confusion for many people. Judson at Home is our services. It's more like an entry fee model. So they pay $5,000 and then they pay $1,000 annually to be connected to the Judson programs and services and be able to utilize the campuses. So that is just a membership program with oversight from a case manager to help support that. Home care is more of your traditional aid support and includes our smart living professionals. That's that more hands-on care. Now, people, whether you're living on our campus or whether you're in our Judson at Home program, can utilize Judson Home Care. But we're going to be rebranding. This is part of what we've been talking about at our home care board, because there is such great confusion with that exact question. It sounds like home care when it's really at home. It was really the intent when we started is to say we're bringing Judson to you at home. So we're playing around with a few different to help differentiate what the program will be called in the future.
Kendra, with increasing costs throughout the entire world, but
Yes.
but our world in particular, to the needs as they change and what was going on with the new generator and other needs as elevators and all. And therefore, you've got a cost push problem. On the other hand, you have 98% occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
And as a businessman, I would say, well, then there must be some price latitude. What are your thoughts about increasing revenues through increasing charges?
Mm-hmm. Well, something we're always benchmarking ourselves against. I mean, and that's what the board comes together when we look at our annual increases, is to sit down and say, okay, where are our areas? As Susan mentioned, we had 15% insurance increases. We have, we're fighting against food costs and all those incremental costs. So that's why when the board sits down and looks at the big picture of, yes, we have increasing revenues coming in, but it's also being offset, as you know, by all the incremental costs that we're seeing. So what we don't want to see happen is during COVID, remember we had larger increases because we had pay hikes completely up. We were going up to 8 and 9, I think 8%, it was our one big, I've never seen an increase like that, but our costs went up so significantly that we had to make a jump. Our goal is to stay a little bit more steady in our increases, even though the cost of goods and services and everything else is going up. How can we maintain a steady approach so that we don't have those leaps and bounds of increases that you've seen? And Susan, I know, please jump in if there's anything else that I missed, because that's what we talk about on the board and from a finance committee as well.
Right. We are trying to be mindful of the increases that make sure they're supported, but they need to cover some portion of the overall expenses that we've just all that we've all experienced. So we are very mindful of that, but we need to continue to have those increases, fee increases, to cover all of the shortfalls. And that's why it's so critical to have a good P&L, and it's so critical to have good days cash on hand and liquidity so we can ride the wave and flatten that out a little bit so we don't have these wild swings and we're not reactive, we're being very proactive.
I would say don't be bashful when you've got a 98%.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. Yes, Jenny.
There's one area that I think we haven't talked about.
Here, hold that mic closer to you.
Sorry, I think there's one area we didn't talk about, and that's greenhouse. And all of us have spent some time or other in there, but I've had very unpleasant times in there without enough staff. And when you're sick and when you're old and when you can't get just simple things like bed changing in the middle of the night, I think we have to pay attention to that. And there's a lot of complaining on that side. That's the only thing that I see is wrong with this place, is we're overlooking the people that are in those places. None of us want to be there. And the service is not adequate. You know, one person for 2 floors to go to the bathroom does not work.
And we've been, Jenny, do you mind if I steal that back? Just to answer the question, sorry. Sorry, shoot. Holding on to it. No, we have been working, and I know Cindy and Bridget and the team, I've heard, and I've spoken to families myself. We've had much better experiences in Crane House. We've been working as a team and building in the right supports, the right staff levels. As increasing, occupancy goes up, yes, they have increased, yes. We've added certain shifts, and some of them are a little bit different shifts, too, to help to support the higher need times. Second shift is a very challenging shift. And that is where we have the greatest concerns, what have you. And so we have added some, even like mid shifts. If somebody doesn't want to work a full 8-hour, how do we support our residents and have added additional support during that time from dinner to bedtime? That tends to be a higher volume need right around that time. Outside of that.
I've been in there quite a few times, and I've been very disappointed. Not by the staff, it's there.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm holding.
I've been very pleased with the staff. The staff is outstanding, always has been, but there isn't enough, and that's very disappointing, and you're not feeling well, and you're not being well taken care of. And I think we talk about all this great stuff about us, and you're right with everything, except that.
I will say that we are constantly adjusting staffing. I mean, Cindy has come to me multiple times and said, what can we do? How about this? This is what we're thinking, based on, and it's conversations with the associates too. So they can tell us what they need. Where are they seeing the greatest need to be able to support the residents as well? We know from call lights and everything else, but.
They need support there.
Mhm. I saw maybe another hand too. Carol Sparker. I know it's been an hour and a half, so I know some.
It seems to me that the generators are a priority. What is delaying the order for the generators? If it's financing, why wasn't this done before?
It's not financing. Bill, I don't know if you want to just talk about the whole process for the generator evaluation. If you just, we'll let them have 2 minutes to share a little bit. I have this mic. Here, come grab this, Bill.
Okay, thank you. So as far as the generators are concerned, there hasn't been as much of a delay as we have to be very careful about how we put this together. There is a lot of engineering that goes into this. There was the natural gas issue that we were going down a road and came out of the blue that was not available to us at that time. When that kind of fundamental change happens, or that comes out of left field, that puts back the engineering and planning quite dramatically. And there's another wrinkle that takes time to work out. We had the engineering layout where all of these generators are going, where Kendra pointed out on the property. And then we had a surveyor come out and actually plot out where that was and where they needed to go. And it was just a couple of days ago that I went out to check on this, and lo and behold, they had indicated that almost all of those evergreen trees that separate buildings 4 and 5 to that Metro Parks Trail would have to be removed in order to put the generators where the engineers said that they needed to go. That's going to put us back another week to get this at least. So we didn't want that to happen, but there are certain things that civil engineers and electrical engineers just don't pay attention to, and quite frankly, that's my role, is to make sure that what we get out of all of these people that are offering and we're paying for their expertise give us a final product that we can live with and you're going to be happy with. So that's just a small example of a number of things that we've gone through that we have to figure out. There were times when we were looking at one single generator, and then that proved to be an incredibly complicated and expensive issue, not only to put into place, but to maintain. There are not the qualified people within our area to service those and to respond to emergencies if that generator goes on the blink when we need it most. So we abandoned that. And it isn't until you go through all of that process that you learn all of these things. And it's just been a very convoluted project, but we have to do this in order to make sure that when those generators are in place and we have a hot August and we have a power failure, that we don't turn on those generators and then they just don't work, and then you would be extremely upset.
And this was new to Geauga County too, and Bainbridge, I should
Yes.
say Bainbridge, about this type of
Exactly.
infrastructure.
There are state engineers that are involved with this because of the size and the complexity and the type of facility that we have. That is another layer of oversight that we have to submit these things to, and every time there's a change to it, we have to go back over that. So this is not a going out to Home Depot and buying a Generac generator and put it in the back of our house. This is an extremely complicated project. So. We are pushing it as fast as we can.
Is the gas versus diesel issue unsolvable?
It's solvable with about $3 million extra to put in a new natural gas loop from Bentleyville to Chagrin Falls in order to get the number of cubic feet of gas at the correct pressure. And that's not doable.
And that would be at South Franklin expense?
You bet.
What would be the difference in operating diesel versus gas?
The difference from electricity day by day, the gas generators are more expensive to install. They are more expensive as machines. They have a more expensive maintenance regimen over time than diesel generators do. Diesel generators have diesel tanks and you have to maintain the fuel, so there is some maintenance there. And all generators are going to require a full load test every year to the tune of about $3,000 per test per generator. So that's going to be the same for either one. So when we looked at the pros and cons, but here's the biggest issue with the natural gas. Natural gas, as it's being delivered to here and to everyone around us, fluctuates. And the pieces of equipment that we rely on for natural gas are pretty forgiving when the natural gas pressure drops a little bit. Or the volume is a little bit scant, especially when it's very, very cold outside. Natural gas is more sluggish, and the volume demand goes down, and so the pressure and the volume is not as available. But normal equipment is forgiving on that. The generators, and they're maximized, running it in August, all the air conditioners are running, and we want the full campus to be operational. If there is a minor fluctuation in the natural gas during that peak period, they will shut off. And so the reliability of those when they're needed most, from your standpoint, from the end user's standpoint, we spent $3 million on this project and they shut off the first damn time we need them. We just couldn't live with that. So we're putting the project in the eyes of you all as end users and your expectations of the project. So that's why we have to be very, very circumspect about what it is that we're putting into place and maximizing the reliability, balancing that with the cost, and balancing that with the delivery. A natural gas generator at 250 kilowatt delivery or output would be about 52 weeks delivery time. So there's that other element that goes into it too. We're constant, and that's fluctuating depending on what current AI data centers are buying every generator that can possibly be manufactured. And before they come off the line, they're being purchased. And the natural and the electrical grid is been idiosyncratic and unreliable as it is. So there's a lot of factors that I won't go into. It'll sound like I'm giving excuses, but. Well, if we get them, if we ordered them today, we would be putting them in September. And it's probably about a 6-week installation time to put those and get those operational. So if everything goes right, by the end of the summer, they should be up and running and commissioned.
How many generators are required to carry the full load?
4 500 kW generators.
So you have no redundancy.
That is redundancy built into that. So those 4 generators don't always have to run. It depends on the load. So if the
The question again, how many generators are required to carry the full load?
3.5.
And then we have redundancy for assisted living as well, correct, Bill?
Yes, the generator we currently have will remain in place for Crane House and the part of community center that it runs.
Yes, Carol.
Just another quick question about the power outages. There are 6 apartments in Building 4 that do not have fireplaces. So when we had power outages, and I called and said my apartment was really cold, they said, turn on your fireplace. And maintenance had no clue that we didn't have a fireplace. And it was like 3 in the afternoon. The heat had been off since early, in the middle of the night. And I said, there has to be some backup for those 6 apartments when we have no heat and we don't have any auxiliary from the fireplaces. So that needs to be in the plan somewhere. Thanks.
Thanks, Carol. Thank you. Oh, I'm coming back to, excuse me. Thank you.
When you introduced Susan, you said she was functioning as CFO.
She's our CFO. So let me explain. Sorry for a poor choice in words. So Susan's been with us 1.5 years. Susan, in her position, is acting CFO. She, I think many of you have asked this question, just to clarify. Susan is not a Judson associate. She is a contracted associate. We went out for over 1 year trying to identify a CFO for the organization. Our board helped us to identify and has, many of them had worked alongside Susan as part of the organization she belongs to. And we brought Susan in. She was head and shoulders above the rest and way above any person we had brought in as we evaluated future CFOs for the organization. So, Susan will be with us and for the long term, but she is, although she's not a Judson associate, she is very much a very part of the team, integral part of the team and leading the department. So she is acting CFO. So sorry if I misrepresented at the beginning using a poor choice of words. I know it's almost 4:40. You all have been sitting here 1 hour and 40 minutes. I am available and around. You can email me, call me. If there's anything I can answer in advance, I'm here as well. So if there's something that you wanted, burning question, I'm happy to answer. And we'll be here. Susan and I will be here, and Nancy and Beth and what have you. But thank you all for coming on this very blizzard-like day. I appreciate all you contribute to Judson as well. Thank you. Thank you.